Well, good afternoon, everybody. And before we begin, I just want to acknowledge the tragic fire at UBA's offices in Lagos last week and extend my heartfelt condolences and the condolences of all the Concordia family.
Thank you so much.
To those who lost loved ones and, of course, to the community, the staff as a whole. You know, it's a stark reminder about why our work matters, because at the heart of these conversations we're having, it's about people's lives, their livelihoods, and of course, their futures. So, today we're going to talk about igniting opportunity, innovation, inclusion, and growth in Africa. All those things are happening in Africa, by the way. I'd like to turn first by talking to the idea of Afri-capitalism, because this is the idea that's championed by Tony Elumelu, who was going to be here today, but because of what's happened, is not able to join us. His philosophy is that private sector, working with genuine partnership with the public sector, can drive Africa's long-term prosperity.
Yes.
Now, Somachi, you are the CEO of his foundation. So how do you see Afri-capitalism playing out?
Yeah. No, first is thank you so much, Cherie. I'm a huge fan of yours and the work you're doing through the Cherie Blair Foundation. So it's lovely to be here at the Concordia Summit, but also to sit alongside you. The philosophy of Afri-capitalism is really for Africa and realizing that for too long we've outsourced development to government and we've outsourced development to international partners. And Afri-capitalism is a call to action for the African private sector to take development as their primary responsibility. And how do they do this? By investing in strategic sectors of the African economy for the long term. And when we do that, we're empowering entrepreneurs across the continent, and we're giving them the resources, the tools, the knowledge, the training to start businesses that can create jobs, help alleviate poverty, and increase women economic empowerment. So Afri-capitalism is really, in a nutshell, saying enough, no more waiting for governments to develop our economy, no more waiting for the benevolence or charity of international stakeholders to help Africa rise, but it's time for the African private sector to create prosperity on the continent by investing for the long term.
That's a fantastic message. And I know from my own work with women entrepreneurs in Africa and the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women, that it's not simply about money. Capital alone is not enough.
Yes.
It's much wider than that. It's about skills, it's about mentoring, and the networks that are essential to success. So tell me about some of the successes that you have achieved and what sectors that you're working in where you've actually really made a difference.
Yeah, so since 2015, when we launched what we call the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, we've identified over 1.5 million young Africans and giving them business management training. We've gone ahead to fund 24,000 of these entrepreneurs by giving them $5,000 in seed capital grants. So it's not a loan, it's not equity, it's a one-time investment we believe will help you nurture that idea and transform it into a business. We also know that, as Cherie has said, capital is not enough. So we take our entrepreneurs through what we call expert mentorship. We match them with business leaders on the continent who've worn their shoes, who've been in their sectors, and who can give them the knowledge, guidance, direction to take those businesses to the next level. Since we started this work in 2015, our entrepreneurs have gone ahead to create over 2.5 million jobs. They've gone ahead to lift 2 million African families out of poverty, and they've gone ahead to create enormous economic prosperity across the continent. Entrepreneurship shows and demonstrates that Africa's rise won't come from abroad. It will come from Africa, by Africans, especially our young ones, because they understand these challenges better than any one of us. They've lived through these challenges. They've seen these challenges affect themselves and their families, and they have the best solutions for these challenges. All they need is the funding, the belief, the training, the access to mentors, to networks, to friends who can help, support their businesses and help it expand for good.
That's a tremendous message and so true.
Yes.
And I see it myself from the work that we do. But of course, the work we do is particularly in relation to women.
Yes.
And I'd love to talk to you a little bit about inclusion, because all the things that you've said that apply to entrepreneurs in general apply to women too, but the women also have the systemic barriers from whether it's unequal access to finance, to cultural expectations, and we can never, ever ignore cultural expectations. So how are you ensuring that women are getting equal access to the networks, to the finance? What is the foundation doing for women in particular?
Yeah, no, Cherie, that's an amazing question because it's something we've seen firsthand. So when we started our program in 2015, we made sure that the training was timed. So the training was accessible from, let's say, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we saw that as we saw women and men were starting the training in equal numbers, but then at the end of the day, we had 80% of the women no longer taking the training. And so we had to dig deeper. We had to ask questions. And we asked the women questions, and they said, you know, this time doesn't work for me. I'm a woman entrepreneur, yes, but I have children I'm taking to school. I have families that we're running, and we have so many competing priorities. So when you make the training program timed from 9 to 5, it excludes me. I just don't have the time to take the training. And so we had to go back to the drawing board. What we did from that realization, we made the training open-ended, so you take it at your own time. And so when we saw only 30% of women completing the training, we're able to raise that number to 80% of women completing the training. So it's the little things, you know, the understanding that you don't know it all, and you must have that dialogue that is honest, is transparent, and you must listen to the people you're working with. You know, you can't come in with a paternalistic approach or a savior approach or a savior mind. You have to come in as equals and listen and learn and be prepared to go back to the drawing table when you've heard insights from the young people you're working with.
You know, we had exactly the same experience with some of our programs too. And we found that we were having women dropping off, particularly because of childcare arrangements. And some of the women we work for actually have childcare businesses. So what we were able to do was to match the childcare business providers to provide childcare in our programs. And that way really made a difference. I can remember giving out the certificates at one time and seeing a number of women, some heavily pregnant and another carrying a sort of 6-week-old baby because she'd been able to do the program thanks to the provision for childcare.
That's amazing.
But I think the other thing is that about women is that when women thrive, societies thrive.
Yes.
And this whole ripple effect from helping women is, I think, very important. I wanted to talk about Ella Amezin. She's got an agribusiness in northern Nigeria, and we helped her with our mentoring program. And her mentor supported her so that she could go into international markets. She grew her profits by over 30%.
Lovely.
And through her work, she has helped 1,500 women farmers in North Nigeria help lift their families out of poverty. And she said this, which I always remember. There are so many people who are happy today, who have food on their table, who send their children to school, all because of this program. And it's that effect, I think, which makes this so worthwhile.
Yes.
So it's a powerful multiplier effect. I often say exclusion is expensive. Inclusion pays for itself. I'm sure you have similar stories.
You know, I think it's President Barack Obama that said this years ago. He says, you can't expect to win a game when you have over half of your squad sitting on the sidelines, right? So if we exclude women from economic generating activities, then we can't win the game. And it's only simple mathematics to make sure that we give women the opportunity to be actively involved in the marketplace. And, you know, Cherie, you asked a question, I think 2 questions back. You asked what sectors are we seeing exciting activity from? I think agriculture is one, because agriculture is the mainstay of the African economy, but it's not traditional agriculture. We're seeing great innovation in agriculture. We're seeing the use of drones, the use of AI, and we're seeing young Africans become extremely innovative when it comes to modernizing this sector that their fathers and mothers and grandmothers, you know, have long played in. Another sector is green, the green economy. We have 20% of entrepreneurs in the green sector, and they've come to the understanding that, you know, Africa contributes the least to the climate change, but then we're most exposed and we're most vulnerable to the negative impacts of the climate situation. And so these entrepreneurs are coming up with fascinating enterprises to build climate resilience and to spread the word and to spread opportunities that exist in this sector. I think another sector we're seeing incredible promise is education. You know, entrepreneurs are taking education to new levels, and they're democratizing it and making sure that across all 54 African countries, our young ones are not just learning, but learning for today and learning for tomorrow. And so they're not just learning skills and knowledge that will soon become outdated, but they're preparing for the future and preparing for all the new changes that the continent will be grappling with in a few years.
Not just the continent, I think the whole world.
I think the world, exactly.
This amazing opportunity that we have through technology, of course, also has risks of deepening the divides between those who have access and those who do not. So digital tools and AI can open doors, but how do we ensure that they don't also exclude a section of the community?
Yes. I think I was in a panel a few months ago in Saudi, and this was the exact topic we were speaking on. And the thing about AI is that AI shows us what we feed it. And so if we feed AI our biases and our false assumptions, AI is only going to take that to, exactly, it's going to magnify it. And so we have to be very responsible in what we feed AI and what we train AI to take as the truth. And you're absolutely correct. If we don't take access more seriously, then we're only going to deepen the inequalities that already exist. And so while we're responsible about what we feed AI, we have to be equally responsible in ensuring equitable access to AI and all of the tools.
And I think training as well into how to use AI so that it becomes not a threat, but an enhancement.
Of course, and infrastructure as well. We can't speak about AI if 60% of the continent doesn't have access to electricity. So we have to take the role of ensuring infrastructure is in place very seriously across the continent.
And affordable.
Yes, and accessible and affordable, exactly.
Now, Tony has often emphasised, that's your Tony, not mine Tony, but my Tony too.
Well, they're good friends.
Neither our government or business can do this alone. So what about the role for other partners, including, of course, international partners, investors, policymakers, institutions? How do they help in sustaining the momentum?
We have amazing partners from around the world. The European Union is one of our biggest partners, the UNDP, the DEG, that's the German government agency. We have fantastic partners from across the world. And what we tell our international stakeholders and international partners is that enough. Let's see the lens of development through our young people in Africa. Let's see entrepreneurship as the one way to develop the continent at a large scale. Because we think that once you empower business owners, then you don't need to give them education or sanitation. They're able to get those goods for themselves, and you're able to empower them to retain their dignity. And so we're telling all our international friends, work with us to scale the work that we're already doing. We've seen this model of African development that is entrepreneurship as extremely powerful. Our entrepreneurs, only 25,000 of them, have created millions of jobs across all 54 African countries. There's enormous potential by empowering entrepreneurs across the continent. So work with us, scale the work that we're doing. We're very big on monitoring and impact evaluation because we need the data, we need the insights, we need the numbers to look at what's working, tweak what's not working, and scale the impact that we're seeing. So that's the message we have to international partners. You mean well for the continent, but we think that it's time for a little shift. Let's focus more on the young entrepreneurs who will bring the desired change on the continent.
So it's African solutions for African problems.
Exactly.
I think we're coming to the end, so let's end on this note, because if we're serious about igniting opportunity, then we've got to commit to innovation, to inclusion, and growth that is truly shared. And the Tony Elumelu Foundation shows what is possible. Your results are remarkable, but it's up to all of us, across the sectors and across continents, to take this vision forward, because honestly, together, we can transform the world for the better.
We will.
We will indeed.
We will.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.